From the Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 5.
Good evening and welcome to CTV News at 5. I'm Maria Penopalis. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, remembering Scott Boyd. Condolences have poured in for the much-loved radio and TV personality who died this morning. CTV's Ryan McDonald looks back at the life and legacy of the broadcaster who for decades helped Maritimers start their day with a smile. Ryan.
Well, Maria, to put it quite simply, people of my vintage and yours grew up with Scott Boyd. He was the funniest man on TV, at least on local television. He was also a proud Cape Brettoner, where today people here and really across our region are remembering him.
I'm getting there. I'm there.
For years, Scott Boyd's antics on TV were the stuff of legend.
You look awful familiar. Where do I know you from?
Oh, yeah, right, guys, I remember. This is Wayne from Self-Defense.
I'd never been on live TV, so to have Scott Boyd and Kurt Studley guiding me along in such a generous way was a gift.
Liz Rigney and Scott Boyd were a dynamic duo on ASN's breakfast television back in the 1990s and early 2000s.
The one thing I've always said about Scott Boyd is in the time I knew him, I never heard him say a bad word about another person.
You never knew what was going to come out of Scott's mouth, and that's what kind of made it so special.
Rob McNamara and Tasha Lee co-hosted a radio morning show with Boyd in his native Cape Breton after his breakfast television days.
The one thing I remember about the three of us being together for the 5-6 years we were is that we laughed an awful lot.
Thanks, Michelle. I feel love now. We're going over to good old what's-his-face and his friends.
Boyd's daughter, Ashley, confirmed that her father died this morning from a heart attack, saying in part, "Growing up with a father that was in the entertainment field, I was always able to hear just how much he meant to so many. To me, his sisters and family, he was just dad, brother, the fun uncle, and pa. Someone told me today that he was bigger than life, but to me, that just means a bigger hole that remains with his passing. If you can do something to make someone laugh today, do it, because tomorrow isn't a guarantee."
No matter what was going on, if you turned on the TV in the morning, you knew that Scott Boyd was going to be doing something funny.
Scott would do anything for you, and he's definitely going to be missed.
This is a memory of, Cape Breton suffered a big loss last year in one of our most beloved sons and a great man here.
Many now would say the same about him. Scott Boyd was 68. And Maria, it turns out I worked with Scott when I was brand new in broadcasting. It was a radio job where Scott really gave me a chance and a vote of confidence. And I know, Maria, that you too could attest to how good he was to you when you were a young broadcaster yourself.
Oh, very true. Thank you, Ryan. CTV's Ryan McDonald for us in Sydney, and that's an understatement. He was wonderful to me. He took me under his wing when I first started here, Todd. And, he was actually the first one to ever pull me out on air, because when I started here, I was working behind the scenes as a floor director, and he'd pull me out and he'd ask my opinion about things. He'd get me to model the tool belt, the Timber Mart tool belt back in the day. And he was just so wonderful, and he was so hilarious. And before I got to work with him, I watched him just as so many other people did at home. I grew up watching him, so I'm really stunned and saddened to hear this news. I
was really surprised too. I worked with Scott and Liz. The three of us were on the show. I think I did it for about 6 months back in '89. And I just remember at that ungodly hour, whatever time we came in, he was like Tigger the Tiger, and he would just bound in with this crazy amount of energy and jokes and sense of humor. So even if you were feeling like it was 5 in the morning and you weren't quite up for it, you were after 10 minutes of Scott Boyd, because he had that infectious personality.
He did. He brought so much joy to every room. And of course, we send our condolences to Ashley and to all of the Boyd family and to anyone that loved him, because there were a lot of people that sure loved Scott Boyd.
He was a big part of this TV station for a very long time. He'll be missed for sure. Thank you, Maria. Coming up at 6 o'clock.